But before we get to weekend observation, something we didn't talk about yesterday, and we were remiss in not talking about it, a couple of things actually from college football. Rewarding fans for throwing things on the field, which is just magical. And Cam Ward is the best University of Miami quarterback there's ever been. Now, they have the wonderful ingredients of you don't trust their defense at all and you don't trust their coach either. But my God, is that fun. The quarterback's better than everybody, and I don't trust anything else about this team. But, man, maybe they'll win 45-40 every time because their quarterback's great.
It is fun. It's wildly entertaining. You do wonder if you're a Canes fan, I'd be interested what Mike thinks about this. Like, you keep flirting with losses every single week, and eventually you're going to lose.
It's because their defense isn't that good, and their offense is very good, and Cam Ward will be reckless as well. So they're just giant plays all over the place. Louisville does that to everybody. Louisville's been doing that for years. But everyone can put up the 50-yard play against Miami. Cal hasn't done it before or since. They did it a bunch of times to Miami.
Yeah, in terms of explosive plays, 50 yards or more, their metrics are that of a middling FCS team. So teams are going to keep challenging their DBs to make tackles in space. That's a book on them. They struggle with it. Thankfully, they put up 35-plus on everybody. I do think that there was a bit of an overreaction to – we can debate like the merits of how close this game was. They covered the spread. Louisville's a program that they've had weird game flows that don't necessarily
reflect
It's a good
win to win at Louisville on the road. Yeah. Anybody winning
Louisville
at
has
Louisville
3 losses, and they're all to ranked teams by one score. As somebody that's been kind of having their heart pound out of their chest in the previous 2 games, the game flow of this one was totally different. I never for 1 second didn't think Miami wasn't in control of that game. Even
it was
that
tied
being said,
in the second half.
Mike,
there was like a weird 14-point swing inside of like 60 seconds, but it wasn't.
You can't
legit.
have. I understand what you're saying about leading, being a touchdown up, and feeling like you can score a touchdown whenever you want. But you can't tell me. I don't care how much you believe in this team, that when it's 31-31 and you've got that defense and Cristobal, you're still not a little scared. Now, you've got the benefit of, and this is different than it's ever been, you've got the benefit of your quarterback is better than everyone else on your team. Because when I say he's the best University of Miami quarterback ever, Stugotz, Ken Dorsey and Gino Torretta, people who won Heismans, they won it because the other players around them were the first-rounders. They had so many first-rounders. Testaverde is the only one where you were like, holy that guy can play no matter who's with him, and he still had amazing talent with him. Miami, look, I like their receivers. Restrepo is going to be one of the most popular and going to be the most decorated receiver in the University of Miami's history. Cam Ward is the best quarterback this program has ever had. And I know that Vinny Testaverde was a number 1 overall pick. What I'm saying is I have never seen a quarterback be this much better than all the other quarterbacks who are playing football. He can score against anybody. Now, I know it wasn't that long ago that they only had 10 points at Cal, but I'm watching that game and I'm like, well, he can bring him back because look at him. Every time I'm watching one of his games, it's more than 300 yards. It's 4 touchdowns. It might be a couple of interceptions and a fumble, but statistically, per game, no quarterback at the University of Miami has started close to being what this is. Never mind, like, near it. No one has started like Cam Ward. This is the most spectacular start in the history of a position that the University of Miami has had some good players at.
I feel like this is a great example of how in football we always analyze all of these different positions and different parts of the game and this and that, and like you go into the deep stats on Louisville and their pass rush and their offensive line and all this stuff. At the end of the day, if you have a quarterback that is that much better than all the other players on the field, they're going to win you the game. If it's close, they're going to win you the game. And Cam Ward has done that for Miami now several times. And you can look at Miami's schedule and say, yeah, maybe Syracuse is decent. Maybe they'll keep it close. But I trust Cam Ward in all of those games to be able to score 45 points or 50 points. So as much as the people that listen to the show hate Miami and are saying this is going to come back and bite them at some point this season, I really don't think it is. I really think Miami is just going to be undefeated this year. And it won't matter that they only beat Cal, Virginia Tech, and Louisville by a touchdown, because the way the playoff is set up now, if they are in the ACC championship game, and I would venture to guess even if they lose the ACC championship game,
they'll still get in.
They're going to get in the playoff because Cam Ward is that good.
I think we can all agree on what it is that I'm about to say, because I don't think there's any argument on this. I could make the University of Miami have 2 or 3 losses already this season if I take away a catch you made on your ass on 4th down and I make a couple of calls go a different way. And it would make Cam Ward no lesser a quarterback than what I'm presently saying. Whether they're 4-3 or 7-0, he's the best quarterback I've seen play this season. And when I'm watching, I'm like, second place doesn't look obvious to me. He's on pace for 40 touchdowns.
But the 7-0 helps. I mean, at 4-3, I'm not certain you get this buy-in. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying the 7-0 helps.
Of course it helps for everyone else who does quarterback play is wins, and that's it. What I'm telling you is that what I'm watching, independent of that, independent really of whether his defense is any good or whether I actually believe in their skill guys, because I don't. I don't think that these are special skilled people. The quarterback is making everyone look special. Restrepo has looked good with a variety of different quarterbacks, so I'll give him that. And the receivers are better than they were last year. But that's not elite talent that they have at receiver. It's elite talent they have at quarterback.
Yeah, Louis Riddick did say that he thinks Arroyo's probably a first-round pick. And the backfield does have some talent and some depth. I think Zay Horton's come along, and Restrepo statistically is going to obliterate the record book. And as you mentioned, he's good with everybody else. I've actually been pleasantly surprised by the wide receivers because it's been a concern. I don't
mean it as a knock, Mike. I really don't.
I understand.
I'm coming from an age when the receivers were Brian Blades, Michael Irvin, and Brett Perriman, all first and second round picks. And what I'm looking at receiver, to me, doesn't look like a ton of professional talent.
I generally agree. Sam Brown, it was good to see that. He had finally erupted for a big game, but he was reputed as a guy that could be drafted in the upper rounds, and he kind of struggled to get on board. But for me, the main takeaway is the takes have been flying. I actually had a very polite discourse with an AP voter who put Miami because they make all this public.
I don't think. Wait a minute.
No.
That's not
polite discourse.
Voter, I mean,
No. So like an AP voter that had Miami at number 11. He ranked Miami at number 11. Yeah.
Did they go down?
He put him in his own top 25 at number 11. Now, this has happened before where there was someone who very clearly, who was golfing all day, according to their social media, put Miami at number 16 after they beat Cal. And
He's stalking this person?
No, because they put the
weird.
graph.
I mean,
they put the graphic up there.
But leave the guy alone. I mean,
Person's or woman
trying to get somewhere with this. So they put a graphic of who's voting where on the AP. So I'm curious, why are you putting Miami 16? And the guy's excuse was the thing didn't save. So that was 2 weeks ago, and this week the person he defended, and it's a common knock against Miami. He held against them that they've been in close games for the last 3 weeks, and then in the same top 25, he put Tennessee at number 6, and I'm like, well, how are they allowed to have 3 close games? In fact, lose one of them, go to overtime against a team that Miami thoroughly dismantled on the road, and then beat an Alabama team that's probably the weakest Alabama team in 16 years. He's like,
SEC.
Great points, probably different next week. Thank you.
I think also they're this is the whole thing about the SEC hashtag. It just means more. That frustrates people that aren't SEC fans, because you look at Tennessee beating Alabama and you're like, well, on the one hand, it's a top 10 win. On the other hand, Alabama, are they even a top 10 team this year? I don't think so. They're really struggling right now. But you just get bonus points because you're playing against this SEC schedule that everyone thinks is better, and some metrics back that up. And it's a tough conference. I'm not doubting that. But then you look at Miami's schedule, and I can't say for sure who Miami's best win is, but it's probably Florida, right?
Probably Florida now, especially considering how Florida played against Kentucky.
And then if you're comparing Miami's undefeated, but their best win is an unranked Florida team, to Tennessee, who has 1 loss and their best win, Oklahoma, you can throw out the window because they are bad. Their offense is terrible, and that win is not going to count for them or for Texas anymore. Their best win's Alabama. You still, as a voter, rank Alabama higher than Florida, so you give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt, even though they have the loss.
Miami kind of needs Duke to be a good team when they play next week, just in the eyes of folks.
What a sentence.
Yeah, kind of needs that, because there really isn't a ranked win.
Andy Diaz is Duke.
We talked about this briefly, in that it's weird. You hold against them the fact that they almost win, because it makes the teams that they're beating look worse. Cal is an infuriating team that honestly should be undefeated. If you want to hold against Miami that they played in a one-score game against Cal, that's the most valid out of all of them. All they've done is play one-score games this year.
Mike is mad. Mike is mad, and I got to be honest. I've seen this too and gotten like a stir of some old embers of mad. I'm like, God damn it, Cal.
What are you doing?
Like, you're making the win that Miami had against you worse every week because you keep losing by a score to everybody.
They're trying, Dan.
They keep trying to set up field goals, and they can't kick field goals. It's infuriating.
They lost to FSU. There's no way you can convince anyone that Cal is decent.
But they lost because they missed a field goal. Like, they miss field goals. It's a little infuriating. For me, like, look, we can parse these things all day. I think treetop view is Miami's exactly where they hoped they would be year 3 into Mario Cristobal's tenure here. You saw last year they had a lot of one-score losses. This year they have a lot of one-score wins. One-score losses is generally a good year-to-year indicator of how your season and luck is going to turn around. I think that this is all about building a foundation, and Miami, in my wildest dreams, if you would have told me, I'd be traveling and I'd see like 3 road wins already, which is already a 300% increase over all the wins that I saw on the road since 2017. I'm very happy. I think winning is hard, and I like that they're winning games, and they currently have an 86% chance to make the playoffs according to ESPN's FPI. So I would give them A's across the board as to how this year has gone.
By your math, Cal is going to compete for a national championship next year.
Yeah. I'd say, yeah.
Good indicator.
Yeah, it's a good indicator. Yeah. A good indicator that they're going to win those next year. I got to fire this bum coach.
I need people to – I really do need them to understand a couple of things about this that are just magical, okay? Magical. One is the ingredients, the Molotov cocktail of ingredients that are the best quarterback, but he's reckless. The defense allows a lot of 50-yard plays, and Cristobal's going to find a way to lose one of these. Like, everyone believes that is so, that if indeed Mario Cristobal is on the right track in year 3, it'll be 10-2 with 2 losses that are his fault.
He's not going to escape that. Although from a game management standpoint, that's another A across the board. He's nailed them. Even the ones that you're wondering, like, why are you not calling a timeout there? Statistically the best. Why are you going for 2 there? He's actually pushing the right buttons there, but I'm with you. His reputation precedes him.
Mike, did I see something at the end of the game? Did Cam Ward fumble the snap
He
on
did
the
fumble
kneel
the snap.
down at the end of the game?
He did. That's why we don't kneel around these parts. Yeah, he almost botched that.
I saw it and I was like, oh no.
So
Cam
there's
Ward, small hands.
So there's that over there, Stugotz. You have this cocktail of, oh, wow, Miami's interesting. They're wildly interesting offensively. They've got the best quarterback, but he's reckless. And they're undefeated. But what Jessica was saying about the SEC, and we can argue the rest of the season. You know, the SEC will go like 4-5 in bowl games, and then we'll all be like, see, it wasn't that good. But this is what
They'll all be in the playoff.
Yes, correct. That's right. But what happens in the SEC, and this part's funny, and it's just because an entire generation has been battered by what Saban is. And to watch Georgia knock off what Saban was, all of us know this. Well, Georgia's good. So Alabama's going to be good because anybody who beats Georgia, we're going to say is good. Alabama could lose to Vanderbilt, can lose to Tennessee, can lose to everybody in the SEC, and we're still going to say, well, I know that if I line up their athletes against Ohio State's athletes, I'm going to always believe in Alabama's athletes because I've watched them do it for 17 years. Now, Georgia is that, and I don't think any of us believe Miami is the top of that conference, because if you think these 50-yard plays against Cal are a big deal, do it against LSU. Play LSU and see how quickly their receivers embarrass your secondary.
I would say that is the concern because the schedule has not been too difficult, but they're still undefeated, so you give them credit. Once they get to the playoff and start playing some of those teams, will the Canes be able to get past those teams?
My favorite scenario out of all of these in the playoffs and matchups is there is an ACC tiebreaker that would see an undefeated Miami not qualify for the ACC championship game.
Oh, boy.
Which
Part of me is rooting for that.
Yeah, you should want that, by the way.
I mean, I want the bye.
You're
but
undefeated.
I want the bye, but I kind of just want to see the chaos that potentially has 4 ACC teams in the college football playoff.